All right, the Chris Sims quarterback countdown continues with more being revealed. We got up to Marcus Mariota yesterday. That means 35, Tyrod Taylor. 34, Tua Tagovailoa. Let's start with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Interesting career for him.
Right.
He had his moment with the Buffalo Bills, and I remember when he became a free agent after 4 years of backing up Joe Flacco in Denver.
Right.
No, not in Denver, in Baltimore. Denver wanted him. Gary Kubiak wanted him. Gary Kubiak had the history with him in Baltimore because Kubiak was there in between coaching stints with the Texans and the Broncos. Tyrod Taylor picked the Bills, became a starter, won a playoff game. Got to the playoffs, didn't win a playoff game.
Right.
Didn't win a playoff game.
Yeah, I think they won. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in a wild card playoff game, didn't they?
I thought they lost to the Jaguars.
You know what? They lost. You're right. It was like a
Jaguars
10-7. You're right. Or 13-7.
10-3.
You're right.
10-3,
Yep.
I think it was.
Yep.
But since then, it's been, the starter in Cleveland until he got injured.
Yep.
Starter with the Chargers until he got injured. And now, if Deshaun Watson's not there in Houston, Tyrod Taylor's the top guy on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, that's
until
right.
Davis Mills, until he gets injured, until Dr. Needle comes walking into the locker room and Davis Mills ends up being the quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Tyrod Taylor, a lot like Case Keenum, he's the ultimate backup quarterback. He's as good as about you're going to find out there, in the NFL, as far as a guy that can come off the bench, doesn't ever seem to blink an eye, has got just ice cold water in his veins that way. Plus, he's got some things that are really awesome about his game. His arm is big time. His athletic ability is pretty damn good with his ability to throw on the run, get out of the pocket, do things like that. So that's where Tyrod Taylor and the value of him as a football player is one, our starter's down. Wait, we got one of the best backups in football. And two, like we're seeing this year, he can be that, bridge gap type of quarterback for a team that's looking for somebody for the future. And who knows, maybe in the process has enough talent to maybe really hunker down and take control of a starting job. That's to me. And, I said this last year, and that's where it stinks for Tyrod Taylor because maybe he could have answered these questions if Dr. Needle didn't screw his ear over last year. But the fact that, and I don't know if you remember this, the number one negative about Tyrod Taylor, in my opinion, is lack of aggressiveness, lack of not always taking advantage of everything that's there to be had in an offense. All the yards, all the big pass plays. He can be way too overly conservative. And that's why he's gotten to places and they're always like, we think we can do better. Because he's got the talent to be a really good quarterback, but he plays the position like a game manager, Mike, if that makes sense. And that's why he falls at number 35 here for me. He's probably got more talent than the 35th quarterback in football.
Yeah, look, I agree. It's just one of these things where sometimes circumstances conspire to keep a guy from reaching the full potential. And he's just been in these spots. And he had to have groaned a little bit when he saw that they drafted Davis Mills because it was setting up for Tyrod Taylor, and it still is. There's no guarantee Davis Mills is going to be ready to go. He's a third-round pick, and they got to develop him. And it's not the same as having a top 6 pick
or
behind you like it was with the Chargers and the number 1 overall pick a couple years before that with the Browns. So he's going to get a chance.
Yes.
And now, who knows what the Texans are going to be this year, but you know what? As expectations go, they're as low as they can be. When the betting lines came out, Westgate had the betting lines for every single regular season game, all 272 of them, and the Texans were not favored to win a single game. So the bar is low. Anything Tyrod Taylor manages to do is going to be viewed as exceeding expectations for the Texans.
Yes. Great leader. The kind of guy that, I think can handle all the circumstances around this situation with the Houston Texans. And, Mike, I think your point, too, with, who's there behind him is a little different. Like you said, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, hey, I'm the starter. Yeah, I'm Tyrod Taylor. I'm the starter. But it's like we always talk about. When you have guys like that behind you who are physically better than you and have a stronger arm and things like that, the guy, guys walk in the locker room every day going, yeah, Tyrod was good. Did you see Baker's throw today? Did you see Justin Herbert throw those lasers around the field? He's not going to have that this year. So that's going to be a positive for him. Davis Mills is good. He's polished, but he has no elite physical attribute that guys are going to walk in the locker room and go, whoa, did you see that today? So that's where it's a good thing for Tyrod Taylor, to where maybe he can really hunker down and be the starting quarterback for this football team. But he can handle all these situations. Like you said, he's a playoff quarterback. He's not a superstar, but there's a lot of good things he does in his game, and you know where I'd like to see him get better.
From Tyrod Taylor to Tua Tagovailoa, Tua up from number 40 in 2020, now number 34 on the Chris Sims top 40 quarterback countdown. Some would look at this and say, what's he done to climb 6 spots? So I'll ask you that question.
Sure.
What's he done to climb 6 spots?
Well, it's another year in the NFL. He won some football games. He's got experience. And, for most of the people that he's in front of, other than maybe a Tyrod Taylor or Case Keenum, he does have more experience that way. And Tua, there's things I'd like to see him be physically better at. He's got a good arm, like we talked about, but it's not a great arm. There's no doubt about that. He's a good athlete. He's not a great athlete. But he does have presence and charisma and knows how to lead a football team and do those type of things too. And we saw growth throughout the year. But, he's 34, and I can't put him in the top 32 yet because I don't know about Tua totally yet. I don't. There's a lot of things and intangibles I like about his game and what he does. He knows how to play the game. He did get a little bit more aggressive throwing the football as the year went on. But just like the guy we just talked about, a minute ago in Tyrod Taylor, that's a part of the game that Tua's got to go up. That's the reason Ryan Fitzpatrick was brought in so many times. They didn't run different plays with Fitzpatrick when he came in. Fitzpatrick just had a more aggressive attitude and didn't leave some of the plays and throws and yards on the field that we talk about that's so important to make an offense successful. So I'm expecting big growth out of Tua. I am. And he still did do some good things last year. Even though it wasn't top 5 of the draft type good things, it was enough good for me to move him up and feel at least a little bit better about what we saw as compared to going into last year.
And look, there was speculation they would target a quarterback in round 1 when they had the 6th pick, when they had the 3rd pick.
Right.
Could they do something along those lines? And the Deshaun Watson stuff
it's
hasn't
still there.
gone away.
Right.
And I think very few Dolphins fans would bristle, even those who have paid the full freight for the authentic Tua Tagovailoa jersey with the numbers stitched on that's like $300. I think that they'd be okay with Deshaun Watson because even if Tua Tagovailoa develops the way that they're all hoping he can, it's still not Deshaun Watson.
No way. Never will
bottom
be.
Line. He's not Deshaun Watson and never will be.
Yeah, no, that's I think the point. And all that chatter's real for all those people that don't think it is real. Everything that Mike you just explained, we know that. Listen, and we know too that he didn't blow everybody out of the water there last year with what he did in practice. We talked about that. We heard comments from, media people following the football team last year in training camp and early in the year where we heard chatter where they were like, guys weren't like, oh my gosh, this guy's unbelievable. We got to get him out there. We heard that stuff with Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and those type of guys who have come in and like wowed people from the get-go where you're just like, remember even Josh Allen, LaShawn McCoy was like, holy cow, this guy, he's got something. He's got skills. Holy cow, he's got a rifle. None of that came out of Tua. So that can be underwhelming, especially when you're the number 5 pick of the draft. But I don't think that's his game anyways. His game is going to be about being a wheeler and dealer. He's slick in the pocket. He's got some different arm angles. He's got a good feel for the game. He's smart, and he understands how to play the game in totality as far as seeing the big picture. That's what he proved to me last year too. And I do expect more aggressive decision-making. And let's not forget, hey, he's got some talent around him this year going into the season. Last year, again, as critical as we can be, we could certainly sit here and go, they weren't the most weapon-filled offense in football. They've done a lot to help him out to maybe accentuate some of those talents we've talked about, Mike, and see where it goes from there.
Is it hard to evaluate a guy objectively and dispassionately when we just really like him. Isn't that hard?
It's all hard. It really is. I try to block it out. Yeah, I've been pinned as this big Tua hater. Just because I had
the guy.
I know, but you couldn't tell anybody on social media that. They think I have like a voodoo doll and I'm sticking needles in his eye. But because of where I've had him ranked and stuff like that. I do. I love the guy. It's the problem with this business. You can't say anything critical about football, and then they think it's personal, and that does bother me. And, yes, I have to do a good job of blocking those things out.
Now you're making me wonder who had the voodoo doll sticking needles in your spleen. That is a
could have
been
multiple people. Could have been lots of people.
Let's if that day, the fact that I'm still alive proves that the voodoo doll does not work.
You're right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.